T-minus 20 seconds. I watched a space movie on the weekend. That's where that came from.
No.
T-minus 20 seconds.
It's hard to even find a decent movie now. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
And everything that sort of trickles.
Oh,
from there.
really?
Yeah.
Is that on Netflix?
Is it one of those docu movies or whatever?
No, this fiction. Alrighty, so I know a lot of people don't like daylight saving finishing, but it means that everybody's here nice and early. So we'll kick off the community board meeting. Welcome everybody. I think we're all present, so I don't think there's any apologies as such. So there's nothing to move there. So we'll open up to public forum and Gavin.
Yeah, cool, thank you. Thanks for the chance. I'm Gavin, got Keith and Peter and Willem here. We just wanted really to give you an update on how we're progressing. We've spoken a couple of times about cycleways around the town, and just wanted to let you know kind of how we're going, where we're going next, and also just a bit of a shout out for the work that's been done around the Harrow track by the Medlocks. That sort of got a bit of publicity lately, and just wanted to sort of let you know kind of where our position was in respect of that. So you'll see on the map, the area that we're talking about is Hodaki Road, coming up here up to the golf course. It hasn't come out so good, but you can make out the Harrow track in white. The red line just shows the work that's been done by the Medlocks to avoid the steps on the Harrow track, to make it more, to provide options for cycling. And then the area that we're mainly talking about today is the unformed legal road piece, which is the little purple kind of island heading north up towards Colville Road, which is the purple road running east-west across the page. So yeah, first in respect of the unformed legal road, we've been working with council, and we've had Katie's gone and walked over with us, and we've got some direction from her in respect of making a consent application, because there may be some native plants that we need to take out in order to get the track through, but very few. It's really just mostly weeds and a few juvenile plants. Like Keith was saying, if there's anything substantial there, we're not going to want to take it out anyway, because it adds to the look and feel of the track. So our next step there is getting an ecologist to give us an opinion on that, formal opinion, and then we'll make a consent application and get underway with developing that piece, and that will give us that nice link from the sort of Long Bay road sort of end right up to Colville Road through there.
Cool.
So obviously through that process, you know, if there's anything that can be done to put in a good word for us as we go through that process, that would be appreciated. So yeah, also there was some concern about the landowners at the north end of that road. Keith's been putting a lot of time into consulting with them and talking to them, and at the moment, Keith, we're at the point where they're sort of discussing the impact on them of having the track going through there, and then getting back to us to work with them to make sure we kind of mitigate that where we can, and hopefully we can work together and find a solution that works for all of us.
Just on that, yeah, it's I haven't spoken to all of them, but because quite a few of them are absentee, but they do communicate amongst themselves. They've all received the emails, but personally I don't get to talk to them. So and I know they've had some correspondence down to Ed, and they know that it's a paper road, and all they're asking is that at this stage is that you know, we put some signage out there. One guy in particular was worried that he's towing a 16 or a 17 foot boat out of there and going down to Oamaru. to launch it. And he said, I'd hate to be coming in or coming out and somebody was moving down the concrete part. And so yeah, just a few little things that we need to mitigate. And yeah, some of them are really pleased that it's going through because they'll use it themselves and enjoy it. So, but yeah, it's getting there. It's
Progress.
So the paper road seems to finish and then there's a gap and then the whole road starts.
Yes, yeah, and that's McLeod's property there.
Okay.
Yep, and they've said that once it's done, they'll give us an easement to get through. So there's already easements for the property owners there on the driveway, and yeah, he's quite happy for there to be an easement for the cycleway to get us through Colville Road.
Cool. Yep.
Yeah, it's good. So it's coming together.
And that easement stays in place regardless of who owns the land. And
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Locked up. And then just the other point was just around the medlocks. Appreciate that it's in a bit of a dicey situation and it's a work in progress, and that there's work to be done in that space. But really just want to put our support in behind kind of the intent of the work that he's doing. Whether how it's being done is another complete matter, but certainly the intent behind it, the giving up the land for community use, the beautification of it, the restoration and natives as opposed to the kind of pine tree cycle that it goes through. And in terms of this piece of work and where we see this cycleway, it really is key to the success and to the usefulness of that cycle path kind of around that western side of Coromandel town.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
That's awesome. Any other questions for Gavin or his group?
Great.
Were you aiming to make it relatively friendly or dog friendly? Or both? Or neither?
Dogs have been dog friendly at this stage. Not sure about horses.
He's got a picture of a dog with a cross in it at the north end.
Great.
Yeah.
So the reason for that one is that then, in those days, was an agreement between Kilt and the golf club. And the golf club were opposed to dogs on a lead even, so that's how it had to be. But with Medlocks buying that strip of land off the golf club, they no longer, can override that. So Bob's happy for the dogs, and the horses. I like to see the horses up through town and on the tracks as well, and most of them that do use the tracks do keep off them in the winter when it's wet and they can make quite a mess. So, at this stage, I think that that's fine. It's for mums with grands, it's for people in mobility scooters. It's such a neat little track out there that, like currently we look at about 5% who can use the Harrow track because steps are too steep. We open it up for all the people in Coromandel to be able to use it. Well, then it's fine, and that's where we should be going.
Yep. Yeah, and that's fantastic. I really support as a cyclist, what you're doing because I'm super excited about what progress you've made so far, and I was down the bike track last weekend and had a great time there. And I'm looking forward to being able to go through the trails and this extended trail would be perfect. I'm really looking forward to it, and I know that the community board are behind the bike park and your activities and anything that we can do to help with you. Just come and ask.
You're going to get that fit, Pete, if you're doing the K2.
Yeah, well, I have to have that hooray track. I haven't done that yet. I better hurry up. Actually, no, sorry, with that point of order, that's not a public forum for that kind of discussion between different parties. So I've already been told that that's not appropriate. So, but I guess you guys are finished and you can talk freely outside of the room.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, thanks guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Alrighty, best of luck.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're at the top of my list, Keith. Top of my list.
Alrighty.
Was Naomi,
Yeah,
Do you want to talk on something else, Naomi?
I thought she,
I thought she did too.
she's not
She
part
probably
of it.
wants to talk about.
Oh, just maybe,
Just-
Because, she did come to our public thing, regarding bus.
Like she's just here to support them.
Oh, look at
Great stuff, that's
I
good.
thought, quite separate, but.
And they do get a lot of support in the community.
Oh, you know, it's no.
Alrighty, well, I guess we need to, receive the Coromandel Bike Park delegation.
Yep.
Yeah. Seconder?
Yep.
All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Yes, Gary, thank you. Items not on the agenda. I'm not aware of any. Has anyone else got anything they want to raise? There being none, we'll move on to the next item, conflict of interest. Anybody have a conflict of interest to declare? There being none, we'll move on to item 1.6, minutes for confirmation. So these have been previously circulated. We have a mover that they are correct.
This one, I'll second.
All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes, okay, thank you. Right, so that's 2.1, the community board submission for the long-term plan. So this was the topic of our workshop recently, and I guess this has come out of that.
Yeah,
Pass it over to you, Alan, if you want to speak to it.
yeah, firstly to apologise and make sure there's a correction to the resolution. Part number 2, just in case anybody didn't
I did.
say Coromandel-Colville rather than Mercury Bay.
Yep.
Obviously, we've got the same standard report for both.
Yeah, so we do need them. Yep. Right.
So, starting on page, whatever it is, page 10. Hopefully everybody's had a look at it. Just one of the things just to highlight to make sure that I've interpreted what we discussed previously correctly. So in relation to the rubbish and recycling and the costs of those, so basically that's saying that for the suggested changes for the summertime rubbish collections and demolics, that the board supports the option 1, which is to remove the mollicks in both those locations, but on the basis that if those areas want to pay for them from the local communities, then the board wouldn't be opposed to that. It also suggests that an overall council commitment is made to a district-wide solid waste strategy. And the other one related to that is the Matarangi and Pāwhanawi refuse transfer stations. The council option is to continue the current level of service, which we're saying we will support. So is everything okay with those?
Yep.
Yeah. The fees and charges one, so I just wanted to really double check on this one. So what I put in there is it's requested the following option be adopted, that it be to investigate introducing new fees and charges that target visitors for the use of facilities and services. Just leave it at that. So that's in relation to the general fees and charges, but particularly the one targeting the visitors. And the second part is about reviewing the commercial operators' fees for using the wharves and jetties and boat ramps and reserves and things like that, saying that should be prioritised because the council option had it being done possibly for implementation as part of the next 3-year review. So it's really just saying that it needs to be done in the 21-22 year so it can be implemented for 22-23. The next one is just say we keep what's in the budget for our CapEx. Then the Coromandel Township bypass, at the moment that's in the nice to have list rather than the must have list. So that's just saying we would like that brought into the must have list commencing in 23-24. So nothing earlier than that, which is what we originally proposed anyway. So there's a significant sum of money involved in that, 3.5 million nearly. Pottery Lane West ceiling and the next one, the footpath construction, So these are the ones where we said we want the footpath construction of 116 brought into the 21-22 year, so we can complete the works down Wharf Road. Then we're saying for 22-23, we want to do Pottery Lane West ceiling work. And then from the 23-24 year, bring the footpath construction back in and have that as an annual thing, following that. You're very quiet, it's supposed to be.
Oh, no, you're doing really well. It's
Obviously.
Yeah, they're not complaining.
Then the minor reserves projects, so that's that $15,000 per annum that we normally have, so we're saying we'd like that brought from the nice to haves into the must haves. And likewise with the public convenience renewals, which is every second year funding to renew a toilet facility every second year, that we'd like that brought back in starting from 22-23, so it doesn't impact the 21-22 year. And the last one is the public transport trial, where we're just supporting the fact that that's already included in the OPEX budget for $30,000, and just saying we would like that to stay there. And then just for your information, really, I've got a table on the bottom there just showing the impact over the 10-year period of those suggested changes. So the first line is the bypass work, which would be a district funded project, so we needed to stack up on that obviously, but showing that coming in for those 2 years starting 23-24. Then the next one lists out the locally funded projects from our submission. So you'll see particularly for 21-22, there's two projects that we're asking to come back in there with the footpath construction and the minor reserves projects, so that's 131,000. And the little bit at the bottom just shows the impact of that 131,000, so that would add 586 per rating unit. If that 131,000 did come back into the budget, which is 0.17% on the local rate. So that's it really.
Well done.
Yep, no,
It's very clear.
we're happy with that.
There's that 3,469 in the bypass, is that?
3 million.
3. Oh, okay. I was going to say, that's something to do. Okay, got it.
That's 3.4
Okay.
million, yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
No zeros on the end, and
No.
any of those numbers.
No. Okay, got it.
You got to look at the little end at the end.
Yeah.
It's usual though for, things like the footpath, the minor reserves, public convenience renewals, to be in a nice to have.
No, in the past, they've always been
Exactly.
in our annual program.
Yep.
In the past, yeah, with no frills budget, then the council decided they should put those out into the nice to haves to see what response they actually got from the community to that. Yeah.
Very quiet, John.
They were in the, there for a reason, of course, so I can see we're just getting a slightly higher rate increase than what we hoped for, but I think we'll still go to 10%, hopefully.
Well, 0.17, that's not too bad.
It's very minimal.
Yeah.
We're actually doing quite a bit, even though it's no frills, but we've actually brought forward
There's
some really
stuff in
important
there, there's
stuff.
stuff, I've got no problems with it, as long as we get what we want, as long as stomach it.
I think it's a happy meeting.
So you're happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the suggested resolution is that the Coromandel-Colville Community Board receives the Coromandel-Colville Community Board submission 2131 LPP report dated 23rd of March 2021 and approves the Coromandel-Colville Community Board submission for their 21 to 31 long-term plan. So can we have a mover for those resolutions?
I'll move it.
Yeah,
I'll second.
Jan, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carries. Thank you. Very good. Well done, Alan.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of work's gone into that, so.
Yeah. It was a good meeting we had, wasn't it, really? Workshop. Good Yeah.
And John does have to wear a different hat in council.
Yep, yeah.
As a council law, so.
Yep, I'm happy with all
But
this.
I think we've got a pretty good case for it there and we'll see what happens.
Can I just ask, are you guys hanging around for the workshop this afternoon?
this.
You are, okay, that's
I'm
fine.
voting against the bill as well.
Yeah, it might be, very soon in that actually, yes.
Whatever we thought.
Okay, that's cool.
Okay, so the next item is 2.2 discretionary fund request. So this is in response to a letter to the Mayor, who's passed it on to iwi liaison officer. Slightly unusual method of getting to this forum, but I completely support it actually. I think it's wonderful for the area, but I'll just open it up for discussion. We do have a finite budget in our discretionary fund. Do we have any cultural repairs fund left for the year?
I didn't even think to check that, even though the budget is very minimal for Coromandel anyway.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that we had earlier in this financial year given a grant from that.
Yeah, I seem to recall.
Possibly to Naomi for her tree. I can't remember the detail, but we can check on that. But even if we did, there'll be very minimal dollars in there.
Yeah, well, we are coming to the end of the year and we apparently have 7,425. Due to the nature of this coming to the forum, normally things like this would come through a grants kind of a process, but I'm happy to support it in my opinion. I think we'd be able to put 5,000 towards the event, but I'll just open up for discussion.
I wanted to say something. First of all ask, when does the discretionary fund close? As in, like, when does it finish?
It's for the financial year, Jan, so it'll finish on the 30th of June.
Of June, okay, right. So we've got $7,000 to go till the 30th of June. And because it is the discretionary fund, I think it's kind of like, so it's for things like this that do come up. I think, like, this is great, this is fantastic, what an honour to have this in our, that this is actually occurring. But I think because it's a bit of a deviation from what we would use with our discretionary fund, I'd be supportive of maybe, $3,000 or $4,000 going towards it, which still gives us some money in the discretionary fund. And that's just my opinion. It's just that if we give 7,000, then we've got nothing until June, which is still a ways away. So, as I say, I'm not against it, but I'm thinking that maybe some or half or whatever, rather than the whole of the 7,000.
Okay, we've actually haven't spent this discretionary fund in previous years, the whole lot. We've gone to the end of the year, we've actually had surplus. So, I'm not in favour of 7,200, but I do think Peter's sum of $5,000 is quite reasonable, given that there is still a couple of months to go and I'm not sure what may pop up. I'd be looking at $5,000, and because it is such a big event and it is quite an honour for the district, and there's a lot of mana goes with it. And I think we don't want to look too cheap on this, to be honest with you. It is a big thing. So
it is a big thing.
$5,000, I think, is probably the minimum that we should be looking at giving.
I think 5 is good. I mean, I'd like to give the whole lot, but we haven't got the whole lot, so we've got to be practical. And it's nice to have just a little bit kept back in case we need it. So yeah, 5 is good for me.
Do you have any thoughts, Jen?
How are you doing?
I just wonder if I should be able to, if I'm allowed to comment, being part of the marae.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I can't see any conflict at all, Jen. You're just member of a community in Manaia. You're not running this, you're not financially involved in the planning or anything.
Okay.
You're not the treasurer or anything like that.
It's good to be clear though.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'd actually like to see the 7,000 go to it. Yep. I'd hate to think at the end of June and that extra 2,000 is still sitting there not being spent. Okay.
Yep. We go in the middle there. Should we go 6,000?
6,000.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So that still leaves us a little bit. Normally we don't get asked, but it's good to have something there just in case, and it acknowledges the significance of the event.
It certainly is. We are quite
absolutely
privileged to have such an event in It's in our ward, let alone our district.
Absolutely.
And it is our discretionary fund, we can do what we like with it, so that's great. So, happy with 6, then the resolution would read that the Coromandel-Colville Community Board receives a discretionary fund request in investiture of Judge Joe Williams and symposium at Marae report dated 26 March 2021 and approves the request for funding for the investiture of Judge Joe Williams and symposium at Marae for the amount of $6,000 to be funded from the Coromandel-Colville discretionary budget. So I'm happy to move that.
I'll second it.
Second by John, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried, thank you.
Can I just ask, is Thames contributing, is the other boards being asked to contribute? Just
us, because it's in our ward.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And the cost is, I believe, significantly more than that. It's,
Oh, for sure, yeah. Oh, okay.
I would imagine, I mean, I don't know how it works, maybe you can provide some insight, but that total sum might be covered amongst the broader geographical area, because right down to Hauraki and...
Yeah, honestly, I don't know.
Don't know?
Yeah, I know that there is a lot of funding coming into, not a lot, but some funding coming into the Marae for different bits and pieces.
I'd say it'll be coming from everywhere. It'll be coming from iwi groups, it'll be coming from the Hauraki Māori Trust, it'll be coming from government itself.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Because just the Governor General attending something attracts funding automatically from government. So, yeah, it'll be made up. And this is obviously the shortfall that they've got as their own community.
And I think it's the first time ever it's happened, that it's been, you know, this has ever been done on a marae. Normally they go to Wellington.
Yep.
right.
So, yeah.
So to get this funding for this weekend, does this have to go to council, our minutes have to be approved and that kind of thing, or can we get that?
Well, no, because this is your
directly?
budget.
Yeah.
We can
So
follow up
we can get
paperwork.
it in as soon as we can, yeah. Awesome. Great. Okay,
So just on that question, my understanding is the total event's going to cost somewhere close to 100,000.
yeah,
So it's a major event with significant costs, and that funding is coming from other sources. And if they asked for us, is the 12,000 listed on here, which is really in around the generators and the sound systems and portaloos and some of the practical,
more local
the
practical
side of things.
They're not so glamorous costs.
Yeah.
oh, I know all about that.
And the marquee.
Just one of the things that I looked at too was the price for the consent for the marquee permit. We can't waiver that or anything to help,
Okay.
so it seems pretty horrendous.
It's a legal requirement in
$195.
terms of those marquees.
Okay.
It's a bit bigger.
It was worth a shot.
I'd say they're pretty big.
You attending the event?
I ain't going to go out.
That's great, yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item, which is license to occupy.
Yeah, and I think we have Nicole and John.
Hello, Nicole.
I'm Nicole. Good morning. How are you?
Fancy seeing you again.
Yeah, thanks for that. I take the report as read, but basically it's just asking for council's approval to allow Thames to enter into a license to occupy with those groups.
Yep. So I'll take it as read, but has anybody got any questions for Nicole?
No officials for us, Nicole?
Great. There's nothing to add from here, so it's just pretty straightforward council approval.
I'll move it.
Yep. All right, so I'm happy to second that. So the resolution, I won't read it all out, but I'll take it as read there because there's nothing to change to it. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole.
That's okay, see you later, bye-bye.
Aye.
Too easy.
That's mine.
Right, so now we've got our work program. So this is.
You're on, Bruce. You're on. What's the work program? Yeah, I can see that.
Morning, everyone.
Hello, Bruce.
Yes, a pretty straightforward report, the work program. I'm pretty pleased with how everything's moving along in this ward, and happy to take any questions on any of it.
So 30th of June for Takuma Road intersection is getting close.
Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah, so always challenge the whole land legalisation side of things. So yeah, I haven't had any updates lately about anything that's changed from that. So yeah, I know that
Is it a sort of a
pretty hard with that.
willing buyer and willing seller kind of thing, or is it using government?
No, well, at this stage, we want to avoid any kind of processes where we have to go through any legislative type processes. So you obviously want to work with the landowner and try and get it over the line like that. So yeah, it's always tricky, those kind of situations. Yeah.
Through the chair, Bruce, we recently at our shoreline management plan meeting, our last one, and they were talking about this because we had Waka Kotahi at the meeting.
Yeah.
And one of the people who was at the meeting discussed, and they were talking about this happening, this thing. They were talking about because of the roads, etc. And it's not just that road, but it's the roads, you know, the whole of the coastline and the future of it and the sustainability of it.
Yeah.
They were wondering if about, it was brought up that council may be looking at putting money into, if it is council, into water transport.
Right.
Rather than, and as a long-term thing. So the money that's going into this, this corner, is to accommodate the massive trucks that are going, that are going to be using it. And
so the question is this a waste of money because we could be going to water transport? Is that kind of where you're going? Yeah, my thoughts on that is that any water transport option is going to be a number of years away. I just don't think they'll turn it around that quickly. And I think it's one of those things that, you know, we always try and do the right thing and future-proof and not kind of invest money that's then going to be sunk cost, but you hold off and hold off and hold off, and then eventually you end up often going, oh man, we need to go and do it anyway, and we could have done it back then when it was cheaper and we got all the benefit from it. So I think that intersection needs that work anyway, I would say, you know, so it's not wasted money. I think it's worthwhile we just carry on ahead. But I understand the question, I understand where people's brains are going to, which is good, and it's good that people are thinking like that. So yeah, but I think at this stage that's not one that we'd drop away.
No, okay.
And it may be more relevant, Jan, do you recall in our nice to have list in the LTP, we did have, we suggested funding for the reconstruction of the road from the intersection all the way to Sugarloaf. And that may be one that perhaps might fit into, you know, when we do get to assess that at some point in the future, that we might be measuring that against the suggestions of water transport and things.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that's even further out as far as our planning is concerned.
Yeah. And I'm aware, because part of the conversation is that it's to do with the coast road, etc., and those big trucks. So more than just the Tikuma. Thing. So it's that whole thing, which you know the shoreline management plan is dealing with anyway. So, but I just thought I'd just bring it up,
good to bring it up,
just to say that it's a discussion that. That has
going on through that and stuff, which is good.
There's some pretty significant boats, motorhomes and that kind of thing too, that also have to negotiate that corner.
Yeah, no, just doing what Bruce said earlier on. Well, I've got your ear there, Bruce. The gentleman that sends us emails on a reasonably regular basis about the uncompleted works out there on Tikuma Road.
Yes.
How are we making up those works?
Everything's moving pretty well ahead actually with that stuff. There was a award letter that I signed off the other day for another package of work. I just can't remember the packages of work, but I think it's all proceeding nicely.
It's all happening.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Can I ask Bruce something else, which is, and it's to do with Harriet Kings?
Yes.
And Tom. And all of that stuff that was happening around reserves, etc. Can you just tell me, do you have any idea of where that is up to?
I don't actually. I haven't heard from Tom since I communicated with him.
No.
Has he been back to you?
No, but one of the neighbours has, and wanting to know whether anything has progressed. Or
I'd have to go back and see actually, because Steve Bremner was obviously looking after that. Now he's no longer working for council. He is contracting or working with chemicals.
Okay.
So he's still around, and so they do a bit of work on that project for us as well. So whether they actually continue using him from a consistency perspective, I'm not sure. Most of the work was done, but it was just around that. Around that legalisation in front of his property.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
And I know that we got valuations of the land and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, I have to double check. Sorry, I can't think exactly.
I know they're due to do the rest of that road too shortly. Callum's going to be starting soon.
I was going to get it. Ed might have been talking about that.
Okay. Yeah.
If I can, Steve Bradner is working for Pinnacles and has been tasked with this job, so there's continuity there.
Great.
He's arranging for site meetings, I believe it's this week, with any affected landowners to go through any residual issues. But my understanding is that of the four people need to sign off on the works, we've got two already signed off. One has gone through their solicitors and they're happy with it and will be signing off shortly. And the gentleman you're referring to is the last one before, but the actual land transfer isn't essential for works to go ahead. We've already appointed a contractor and we're intending to get works completed this financial year.
Okay. Okay, well,
Yeah.
fine. I mean, the fact that we haven't heard from Tom is probably.
Yes. Yeah, maybe we will now, but.
Yeah. That's right. I'm just thinking that I might just not say anything.
Well, if he's got any,
Simply contact
I'm sure he'll come back to you or I, Jan, so.
Sure he will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Just on the wharf renewal, Bruce,
Yes.
the causeway, my understanding was part of that causeway is not actually owned by us. We own the bit of the end and the bit at the front,
Yeah.
but the bit in the middle is not ours. Is this a rock, the rock revetment on the bit that's not ours?
I don't know exactly where that bit is, sorry, yeah, so whether the locals here know, Alan or Bubbles.
It is on the area, but you've got to remember all our services run down
Yeah, we've
there.
got a water pipe running.
Yeah, we've got water and power that run down there, so if we don't do it.
Yeah, I think that, Bubbles is right, that was the decision. You're right, some of it might not be ours, but we've got stuff, we're invested in it and we need to protect it, so.
Yeah, we don't own the causeway.
No.
We own the wharf on the end of the causeway.
Yeah.
But yes, you have to be able to get from the road to the wharf, so.
Yeah.
I think so it's more related to providing the service as opposed to the integrity of the actual structure.
No, yeah, exactly.
It's Lynn's, is it? Lynn's owns it.
WRC.
WRC.
Council,
Do they ever contribute?
no.
Unfortunate, but that's the way it is. Yep, we've got to protect our assets, so,
Yeah.
But obviously that, I don't know what the actual work is. But no idea, it's just off the scene of it actually.
Yeah, I know there was some undermining there in a couple of sections, so yes, it was pretty basic, just like rock placement, to try and protect it, just a little bit on the truth.
very good. And Harrogate House Reserve improvements at the barbecue facility. I understand there's been some issues with the spouting.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes, local issues, and we've had to remove it because we've had to repair it 3 times. So,
And that's that you know of, because we've done it a couple of times without you even being told.
so, yeah, there's been a bit of youth activity there since we put that up, but I think the police are onto it and have snaggled up who they are and are working with them and putting them to a little bit of
Car washing.
hard labour on our picnic tables there.
Oh, cool.
Yes, they seem to think it's the graffiti, our brand new one. So the police have got them and they're going to be cleaning them all up.
Excellent.
And we've readjusted the camera, so it's right on there now. Yeah.
And they'll just move over there now. Yeah, but that's good.
But the lack of spouting, is it going to be a permanent thing, or are we going to be in breach of any consent or whatever for not having spouting on it?
No, that was more of an aesthetic thing to make it look nice, which it did look much better with the spouting on. So I don't know whether there's an option that once the police deal with these youth and we make a little example of a couple of them, that we might be able to put them back.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
Okay, watch the space.
Yeah.
Okay, and it says here that there was a meeting on site at Little Bay in regards to the public.
Yes, yeah, that meeting went well, as I understand it. They discussed the location, as well as a number of freedom camping issues came up, which is not surprising. So yes, they know everything's still on track as per their comment for June construction.
Cool. All right, is there any other questions for Bruce, or? There being none, okay, the resolution is that we received the Coromandel-Colville work programme and other information report dated 19th of March 21. Happy to move there.
There's all the other information stuff, you're okay with that?
Am I thought that I'd got to the end of it.
You've got to the end of the actual capital work programme. It's just your local stuff.
But wait, there's more.
The other bits and pieces, page 31. Yeah. Page whatever.
Just for your information, the Hauraki House had the corner of the building knocked off by a boat and trailer this weekend, but all the details of the person who did the damage we have got, so it will get repaired, but it is quite significant damage. Yeah.
Really? Were they going to go past?
I don't even know what they were doing.
I've got a photo of it.
Oh, what a shame.
It would have been an accident because
Oh, yes.
Oh, no,
people
it was
owned
an
up.
Did they come forward?
Yeah.
Yeah, accidents happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a shame.
And I mean, why would you take a big vehicle like that and me on that narrow corner anyway? But anyway.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
All right, so we're still working through the Outdoor Pursuit Centre, and all the parties are still talking.
Yes.
Have they set a date for that?
We did have a meeting with them the other day, a week or so ago. Yeah, it's progressing, but there's still
Two things to
still a fair
iron
way
out.
to go. Yeah.
But there's no deadline, so it's
No.
work in progress, yeah. Okay, so let's go back here. I see there's a lot of work going on at the bike park and washdown stations and things like that. Shoreline management plan. So that's what you were alluding to earlier, Jan, you just had a shoreline management plan meeting. And survive.
The Sugarloaf, sorry, through Chair. I see the new plan for the Sugarloaf is, I had a look at it the other day. I see it's changed again.
shouldn't have done. We settled on that a couple of months ago, so I don't know what you've seen.
Oh, well, there's been, I don't know, 50 different plans so far. That would cost a fortune. But there's only 15 boat parks.
18, should be 18.
Well, it says 15 on the one that I've got.
Okay. No, there should be 18. It was the last I heard. And I don't know quite what you've looked at.
I sent there was a picture sent out to us the other day of it.
Who sent that out? I haven't got that.
Yes, I got it. It must have been
with me. So I don't know.
hang on.
Sent from who, Jan?
I'm only a director.
It must have come through the email or something like that, because,
It's a council.
Was it in one of the council update things?
It was
or-
on the weekly report.
it might have been two, yeah.
It was, yeah.
I'll tell you where it is. It might have been on the last,
Weekly report one.
yeah, update.
And there's a photo, a couple of photos, like one of how it looks now and one how it's going to look. And then there's a full scale plan.
Yeah.
And there's 15 parks for the recreational.
Well, as I understand it, sitting here at this very precise point in time without having seen anything, last time we discussed it was 18 car parks, so I can't comment on that.
Because when we had the open forum in here with the plans and the discussions then,
And what were the car parks at that stage?
I can't remember exactly, but
They
it
were
was
saying
like
nothing has changed.
20 odd. I think.
No, I don't think we.
Because they had some in the middle and a turnaround where you could turn around and back in. There's none of that.
Yeah, there's been no changes to what was presented at that forum. We haven't had a meeting to discuss any changes. So I don't know I don't know if the staff member put that on there, whether they had the current one or just what, but from that meeting, those public meetings, we have not changed anything.
Because
I saw that, I did see it
last
as well.
week's one. I'm sure it is last week's one.
That might have been version number, whatever, but the version that we're going in with is the one that was presented.
Is that we're presented here to the open day.
That's nothing. I haven't been to any meetings, and I've been to every one where that has changed.
Because it's way different, the one that was just sent.
Here it is. The preliminary design, so it was on the week before, was it the 26th of March?
Artist's concept there,
Yeah.
isn't it? So I can't say any more than that, Kim. We haven't whittled anything down, changed anything.
It says resource consent to be lodged by the end of financial year, which is usually end of March. So you're talking about council financial year, which is June.
I'm not sure.
We're always talking council financial year, always. Yeah.
Well, you think the design will be pretty well advanced by now then, if it's right
Yeah,
2 months away.
they won't be chopping and changing too much.
No, but it's pretty hard if council is sending out that and it's not the correct one, what are we supposed to think?
That's a good point, Kim. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And we will follow that up. I've
Yes,
made a note.
please.
Yep, so it was from the 26th of March, Councillors Weekly
Council
Update.
release.
Oh, there, yeah.
Was there a plan in there as well?
Yep, here it is here.
Oh, it's a picture.
Picture. Sorry, no, not a plan, no, sorry, just a picture, and it just.
The 26th.
Yeah, and you can go from there,
Oh,
go
okay.
into that, and
There'll be a link
there's a plan.
Okay,
that you click on.
I couldn't see the link.
Oh, it's
That's often is it, just in the text somewhere?
here somewhere and you click on it,
Okay.
and it opens up to a whole
Yeah.
council thing.
When we go for that resource consent, we will be applying for a pontoon to be included in it.
Because it's not in that thing.
Well, there you go. So, we will be applying. There was some discussion not to do it, but we managed to get a pontoon, at least on the resource consent, which gives us the option later on to do it. If we've got the money left over, Yeah.
That's cool. That would sort of like
140.
that would almost
It'd make it a lot better for the recreationals.
So she looked at it.
Lot safer.
She knows.
Safer. Better.
I told her this time.
Oh, no, I'll talk to you later on.
all right. But if there's no other discussion about the work programme, I'd like to move that we received the Coromandel-Colville work programme and other information report dated 19th of March 21. Have a seconder?
Yep.
All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you. Thank you, Bruce.
Okay, no problem.
Thanks, Bruce.
Who's second that? Was that Jane or?
Jan.
Yeah. And now we have an action schedule report.
I think the neighbours' report is actually on the agenda before that. Which is,
Other way around on here.
was it? All right, that's fine. Carry on. I was looking at the run sheet, that's all. Sorry. Occupied.
Yeah, no, there's been an updated run sheet.
Oh, right,
since now.
occupied, sorry. I'll leave it for
So the action schedule is just, there's just a couple of actions that were on there from the last meeting.
So this first item is in relation to a very generous offer from Councillor McLean at Nickery Bay through an outside organisation to provide some funding to enhance the Coromandel 200 artwork, whether it be some kind of veranda or some kind of lighting.
It's definitely going to be the lighting, Peter.
Yes.
Yep.
The lighting was chosen because any other veranda involves underground work, which is complicated. There's so much under that bit of grass, it's amazing. So we're trying to be talking to Powerco about how to.
We've got that sorted,
We've
yeah.
got that
It's been a
sorted
bit of
now.
a thing, but as of Wednesday last week, they've sent through their costing for it, and now so we know exactly what it's going to cost now. And now we're just waiting for a costing for the actual lights themselves and the installation of those. So hopefully we'll have that today or tomorrow actually, and I'll put it all together and give it to John, and John will take it to Murray.
Yep.
And then we'll work out the detail of that after that.
Yep, okay. And we need to acknowledge them in some way with a plaque. Yep. Attached somewhere to something.
Yes, I have attached that to the project proposal, so Scott's aware that we need a plaque.
Yep.
I'll be including it in the costings.
Is that a Powerco plaque?
No,
No,
to the people that don't, yeah.
Oh, I see, okay.
Donating the money for it.
Yeah, okay, oh, good.
That's great news, so we look forward to some progress there.
We're good to get it done.
It's been a battle, that one for your bubbles, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's just been very hard to get the costings, yeah, but I think we're there now.
And I know you haven't got all the information yet, so we don't know whether it's going to fall within the scope of the donation or whether we...
I'm confident it very much will.
Yeah. Yeah, if it doesn't, we held that a little wee bit back, we might be able to.
You may be expecting a report on your next order paper. No.
From your discretionary fund.
I don't think so, I'm feeling confident.
Okay.
And the other item on here was Member Brett, maintenance issues at Hauraki House. Property team has engaged a local builder to undertake an assessment of required works. This is the playground?
No, it's the actual
Hauraki House itself, yeah.
So they themselves undertook an assessment, I understand.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and now council has engaged Glenn Beattie.
Great.
And he's doing a priority list for council because obviously there's only so much budget, and he's going to prioritise based on your guys' lists, which are the urgent things, and we'll work our way through that.
Right.
Even if we get it into a maintenance program, you know.
That's right. It's the start of that.
Yeah.
Yep,
So we have depreciation this year, isn't it?
Correct.
No, well, you'd like to think we did.
Yeah.
Just say correct, John.
Correct.
Are there any other items? That's it?
Yep.
Okay, and the resolution receives that we receive the action schedule report dated 15th March 2021. Happy to move that. And have a second.
I'll second it.
Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against it. Thank you. Members' reports. Who wants to kick off?
I'll kick off. Haven't got anything terribly exciting to report. Been dealing with a number of ratepayers over various issues. The one thing that was interesting and significant was going to Te Paia Marae a couple of weekends ago and listening to the locals talk to WRC and DOC about the use of P&80 on their land. And spent the morning there. That was good. Meetings still going on with Hauraki Tahi. There are no changes to anything that's happening there, but yeah, we'll follow that up. So it's just ticking along nicely.
Okay, I've kind of said about the panels, the shoreline management panels discussing. One of the big things that came out of it was about the transport thing, sea versus road transport thing, which I've already talked about with Bruce here. But I just wanted to just say that that's something that some people are going to be taking up separately. A group that are in the shoreline management are going to be taking that up separately to pursue, and it's to do with climate change and etc. I've been to the Thrive Trust had a public meeting at the club rooms to look at. They had big discussions on generating more income for the information centre. But sort of taking it out more publicly, and there's a lot of people that came to it, and so because the funding for the information centre is really tenuous for them and ongoing, and they've been so reliant on international tourists going to all our you know, all their bookings and their commissions and what have you. Yeah, activities. So now that's not happening, it's looking at how to generate more income for it so that it can actually keep going, which is a very big issue for Coromandel Town Information Centre. So they're working on that and have employed somebody from Cambridge from something like called Web Angels or something like that, who's involved with other organisations and how to promote other towns, etc. So they've used part of their grant money that they got from us to go towards that.
So during COVID, well, it's still happening, I guess, has that reduced the amount of staff that they've needed to use, or has domestic tourism been just as?
Oh no, they're still managing to have the staff, but there's more volunteers, of course. Yeah. So yeah, because they're obliged with the money that they get to open at certain hours anyway, and that has to be manned, and it's got to be manned by one permanent staff member. Right. Yeah.
Hopefully Jacinda's announcement this afternoon might help.
Which is?
Opening the borders.
Oh, yes, yes.
Mixed emotions about
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's just an ongoing thing with them. Yep, so that's me.
Anything, Jean?
I received a call from somebody in the know who had concerns around who is responsible for the edge of the footpath that's been put across. What they're saying is that it's just going overgrown with weeds and the grass is going all over the footpath. No. She was saying that last time round, a few years ago, she thinks that it was council that put down the tar seal for a footpath, a tar seal footpath in that area. But then it was nobody maintained it, so it was overgrown, and you wouldn't have known that there was actually a footpath there. And
are we talking about the footpath from Goldfields to the bridge?
Yeah. So what she's saying is, who is responsible to keep that path maintained?
So it's Waka Kotahi, because it's a state highway, but we put it there, and my understanding is when the thing was built is that the school made a commitment that they would mow down either side of that footpath as their community contribution towards the council putting that in for them.
Yep, correct. I shall let them know.
I don't know if there's anything in writing, but that certainly was what the conversation was at the time, and Martin Mackay there would be aware of it.
Okay, I'll have a talk to Martin.
Yeah. But of course, if that's an issue, come back to us, Jean, so we can.
But I think if they're aware who is responsible, because we have one fellow who went over the weekend to mow it all down. Yeah. If Martin says that, then well, I'll have a talk with him.
That was my understanding, because it was basically put in for the safety of the children.
Yes, yeah.
And that was the agreement, albeit verbal at the time, that the school would keep it as part of their maintenance, just along the edges of the footpath.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah.
Anything else, Jean?
No, that's all. Thank you.
No, nothing from me. It's been, pretty quiet.
Yep.
My perspective.
Yep, pretty quiet from my perspective too, actually. I've had a couple of ratepayer comments and all good really. I'm off to Gore in Southland in a couple of weeks' time for the National Community Board Conference, so that should be interesting. Just for the record, I'm getting myself there and back, and council are paying my conference fees.
Well done.
Don't forget your cowboy hat and your boots.
Well done.
Yeah. Or the country western.
I'm not sure if it's in Gore or Gore. Take your guitar.
Yeah, take your guitar. Your hat.
But it looks good. I went to one of these about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was quite good because you get little connections.
Yes.
You know, the boards, and you find out what their issues are, and you think, well, either ours is really good or ours is actually behind. You know, you find out where you are in different events. So,
Good on you.
Good idea.
looking forward to that. And the theme of it is interconnected communities. So,
Right.
Are you the only one going from the district?
I believe so. Yes.
Well done. That's good. I just had one other thing, and I needed to check that. I've asked to meet with, some people want to meet about submissions for the long-term plan, and I've agreed to meet with them at 3:00 this afternoon here. Is that okay?
Well, it's okay if the room's not being used, Jen.
Yes,
We really need to
I
check.
know.
This room is very well used.
Yes, yeah.
So we can ask Lizette more
I
in
will,
detail.
okay, yeah. And it's to do with the bus. So, if anybody is interested. So I've had a lot of.
I understand they're having trouble doing the submission, so they want to hand.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's just understanding the process and
yeah.
how they word that
You've
submission.
got
That's what
Yeah,
we're getting.
so we've worked out probably pretty much what they need to say now.
Are you reminding them that they need to put one into WRC as well?
Yes, I am. Yep. So that's all part of what today is going to be about as well.
I've been explaining to them, they've really already got us on side, we put the money aside.
Yes.
It's WRC are the key to this.
Yeah.
And it's actually their mandate, regional
Yes,
transport is actually their
yes,
mandate.
exactly, yeah. So that's helping them.
Hit those WRC submissions.
Yeah.
All right, no one else got anything else to add? In that case, I'll move that the Coromandel-Colville Community Board receives the members' reports. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Yep.
And all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, do you want to have a cup of tea and then move into this, or?
No.
Have we got Darren hold that one for somebody?
I have no, I don't
I
organise
think
that.
we probably should do morning tea because I'm going to have to contact Derek somewhere early.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I'll go and check the keys.
Oh, no, Derek's on.
Oh,
So we can carry on.
yeah,
Right.
and you've emailed me, so.
Yes.
Thank you.
So hang on, just before we start, I just need to go out of recording.
And so I just need to move that we move into public excluded.
Yep.
Seconded by John, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against,